Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special interview with the International Criminal Court prosecutor, Madam Fاتو Bensouda, in regard of her visit to Darfur and the investigations and maybe ongoing investigations in war crimes against humanity. Welcome, Madam Fاتو Bensouda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Madam Prosecutor, in 2005, May 27th, Kofi Annan, the Secretary General of the UN, visited Darfur for the first time. And in many years, not many had the access to that region. Yes. 16 years later and 2 weeks before you leaving office, you find yourself between the people of Darfur. Yes. Did that change your perspective on this major case file?
Thank you for having me. But with respect to that, as a prosecutor of the ICC, who has at least taken over command of this case since 9 years now. Before then, of course, I was deputy when Moreno Ocampo was still there. I was deputy.
Yes.
So somebody who has had this case for several years, worked on this case for several years, I have had no doubt, not even for a moment, of the seriousness of this case and the extensive suffering
yes.
that the victims in this case have gone through.
Yes.
So what my visit has done
yes.
is to reinforce that belief about the seriousness of the crimes, to reinforce the fact that justice must be done in this situation, to also admire and respect the resilience of the people from Darfur, to respect their perseverance, and to also acknowledge the trust that they have since the beginning, they have in the ICC. So these are really a few of the takeaways I have when
out of this visit to Darfur.
Yes, visiting Darfur.
Number of delegations of the ICC visited Sudan in the last 2 years. What were the talks, the details, not all the details of the talks, of course, but maybe highlights of the most important parts and points of the Memorandum of Understanding between the government and the International Criminal Court?
In any situation that we are investigating or that has been referred to the ICC, one of the first things that we have to work on is the issue of cooperation.
Yes.
As you know, with the situation in Sudan, we have not had that opportunity because there was total refusal by the former government to engage with the ICC. So we have never had that opportunity to really, even though we were working on this case, we were investigating the situation in Darfur without having access to the territory. This was an opportunity, a first opportunity to come and speak with the current government, first asking for cooperation, but also talking about important issues like the warrants of arrest that are outstanding and their execution. You will recall that since we started working in the Darfur situation, we have issued quite a number. We've asked the judges to issue quite a number of arrest warrants.
Yes.
And these are still outstanding.
Yes.
Except that currently we have Ali Koucheib, one of those who were wanted by the ICC, is currently before the ICC.
Yes.
This was not a surrender by the government, of course. This was
his personal decision.
Indeed, a special decision and negotiations between my team and Ali Koucheib himself.
Yes.
And he has surrendered. But there are warrants that are outstanding. And we want to be, from the very first moment, we thought this was important to engage the government on this matter with respect to the execution of the warrants. So that's two main things I would say, is the cooperation going forward with the case, but also the execution of the outstanding arrest warrants.
The government of Sudan in the last 2 years seemed to be carefully approaching the concept of handing over the wanted 5 to the ICC. In this visit, did you sense that this is changing now?
Well, I can say, or I will say that it's more hopeful than maybe the first time I came. Because as you know, there is also need for clarity on their side. And I'm sure they have been having discussions amongst themselves. So I would say that this visit is more helpful. We're in a more helpful place than before. And I have had the opportunity to discuss with all the relevant authorities here. I have had discussions with the Ministry of Justice, with the Attorney General's Office, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Prime Minister's Office, and the President's Office. I was even able to hold meetings with Mr. Hajar and Mr. Agar. Yeah, Malik Agar. We had very important discussions because, as you know, they have also been involved in the process of making ICC continue to be relevant in Sudan. So I've had this, I've met with the NGOs. The message that I have been receiving really is one of positive one. I have not met anyone who said that no, we cannot allow this surrender to happen, but that there is need for the engagement to continue and the talks to continue for a decision to be made. So I found it more helpful than before.
Inshallah. Madam Prosecutor, it was circulated in the news that Ahmed Haroun requested to be handed over to your custody. How do you reflect on that, and how do you respond to such requests by the wanted foreigner by this point?
Yeah. Well, I also think that this is a very positive development because, as I explained just now, for us, we believe that these persons who are already wanted and they have warrants outstanding against them should be surrendered to the ICC for trials to take place. Because as you know, ICC, we don't do trials in absentia. The person has to be before the court before we can start. So for Ahmed Haroun to say that, we welcome it very much. And I also think it's an indication of the trust that he has in the ICC system, which we think that is justifiably so, because all persons that appear before the ICC have their due process rights. They are presumed innocent until proven guilty. So our responsibility of proving the case beyond reasonable doubt doesn't change. It has to be proven before judges can take a decision. So taking all that and also making the facilities that are needed available to the person. So I think for him to take that decision to say that I want to be tried by the ICC, I'm sure he has had a careful, and those who are assisting him has had a careful assessment of the work done at the ICC, which I believe demands credibility, and he's recognizing that.
Madam Prosecutor, in the press conference you've held with the Sudanese media, you've talked about the possibility of a joint trial between Ali Kosheb and Ahmed Haroun. What would that mean for the people of Darfur and to the court?
Well, I said that because not that we are just picking and choosing who should be transferred to the ICC. It is because
of the ongoing prosecution of Ali Kosheb.
Indeed. And also because Ali Kosheb and Ahmed Haroun are charged with the same crimes. The witnesses that we will need will be the same witnesses. And for efficiency and judicial economy, it would be better to have one trial, try them together, use the same witnesses one time, instead of having them go back and forth, exposing them to the same trauma over and over again, but have one trial. And this is an explanation that we've given to the authorities to say that it is important that at least in this window that we have until the judges will decide on the confirmation of charges of Ali Kosheb, that we also have the surrender of Ahmed Haroun. There is still the possibility to be able to try them together. And this is a message that we try to emphasize to the authorities here.
Of course, you're working in cooperation with the Sudanese government to try and receive, and for the government to hand over the wanted four to the ICC. In case you reach an understanding for them to be tried in Sudan, what would it take for you to absolutely trust the judicial system in Sudan?
Well, you see, ICC is never judging any judicial system.
Yes.
It always has to be done in relation to our own cases. And this is what we mentioned about complementarity.
Yes.
And issues of admissibility. If ICC has a case and warrants are issued, or maybe ICC is saying, I'm going to investigate, the office of the prosecutor says that. If the domestic jurisdiction says that I am investigating this case, or I have already investigated this case, the ICC has to step back and see, and look at, for example, the genuineness of what that domestic jurisdiction is doing, because complementarity is also a cardinal principle of the Rome Statute, which establishes the ICC. We don't force to take cases unless we see that this case is being done, perhaps to shield someone. It's not genuine. But otherwise, if there is genuine proceedings of cases having been already investigated or in the process of investigating it, we have to step back and look at what the process is going on in the domestic jurisdiction.
How further would you step back? In case of a trial in Sudan, complementarity, would it mean supervision by the International Criminal Court?
Well, we call it monitoring. Oh. We monitor what is going on.
Yes.
Monitor to see that, for instance, it has to be, I mentioned earlier on that we do not look at the entire judicial system, but what we look at is, for instance, are they trying the individual for the same conduct that ICC has found? Has he been charged with the same crimes that ICC is charging? So this is, we look at it in that context, the conduct, and we see if definitely, for instance, we are charging genocide or war crimes or crimes against humanity, and perhaps the person is being tried for corruption, this is not complementarity. It has to be related to the crimes that ICC is also looking at.
And issue the arrest warrants against them for?
Yes, especially. It really has to be shown that the same conduct that we are charging for, we are trying the person, is what the domestic jurisdiction is also looking at, and they are also trying him for. The crimes have to be seen to be the same.
Synchronizing and matching.
Synchronized, yeah, it's the same.
Yes. You stated in the press conference that you've received information about continuing crimes in Darfur. And in the beginning of the investigations, you were looking into 51 people accused of war crimes in Darfur. The ICC is focusing now on 5. Do we expect for you to indict more people?
I have to clarify that the 51 people are not a list that ICC has created. This list was handed over to the ICC by the Commission at the very beginning, when there were moves to have the case referred to the ICC. So that list was composed by the Commission and was one of the materials that was received by the ICC. But it's not a list that was based on ICC's own investigations. And as you know, the ICC's investigations have to be independently and objectively done. When the case was referred to us, therefore, and the list was given, we've looked at the list. But it is not based on the list and the evidence of that list that we are charging people. We've conducted our own independent investigations, which has resulted in these 5 warrants of arrest being issued against these individuals. So for us, this is what we are following, this 5. This is what we are following. And if they happen to be in the list of 51, it's because of our own investigations that we arrived there. But it's not that we are taking the list of 51 and going one after the other. Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't work like this.
But the remarks of continuing war crimes in Darfur and your investigating teams arriving to Darfur to investigate on ground. Do we expect more arrest warrants?
Well, what I can tell you is the referral by the UN Security Council on the situation in Darfur, because I think it's important also to clarify that.
Yes.
That is not the entire Sudan that was referred to the ICC, but the situation in Darfur. Of course, it started at the time that it did, but it has no end date. So that means ICC's jurisdiction continues in the Darfur situation that was referred to the ICC. And I took the opportunity when I was there at the camps and also meeting with the affected communities to stress that we have received information that crimes continue to be committed. And we are putting those who are committing the crimes on notice that there is you cannot take out from the realm of possibilities that we can look at additional crimes in Darfur. I'm not saying that right now this is our focus. No, it's not our focus, but because we really need to look into those that we've already investigated and charged and see how to advance them. But people should not think that the ICC cannot look at crimes or look at the allegations of crimes that fall within its jurisdiction, even as we speak.
You've stated also in the press conference that these talks cannot go on forever, this back and forth. Omar al-Bashir is the most wanted by the people and the war victims to be handed over to the ICC.
Well, you can see when we went to Darfur, you see the strong call for Omar al-Bashir to be transferred to the ICC. It is not even us saying it or asking them to say it. They are saying it. This is what they want to see.
Yes.
So this is already there, and for us, the warrants that we are insisting on it being executed, of course, former President al-Bashir forms part of those warrants.
Madam Prosecutor, I understand your time is very tight, but did you go into talks with the government, or did the government of Sudan hint or commit or promise in any way to join the ICC membership?
Well, I have to say that we've not discussed that. I think at the moment, really our focus has been on continuous cooperation with the situation that we are investigating in Sudan, and also the arrest warrants that are outstanding. This is where our discussions are focused at the moment, and we have not discussed the issue of Sudan joining the ICC.
You're leaving the office in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Working on this case for 9 years.
Yes.
What would you take with you?
In 2 weeks, as you know, I will my mandate at the ICC after 9 years will end. But already another prosecutor has been elected.
Yes.
To start his mandate 2 days after I complete, I'm gone. But again, I will take along with me many important lessons. Important lessons if, in the sense that if the ICC has taught me anything, it's about justice. It's about accountability and how it is so important that you have justice and accountability where it has to, in any place that it is
take place.
That is one thing that I really will take away. There will always be many pressures. I realize, always be many pressures and always be criticisms. But one has to remain focused and to do this job, as I always say, without fear or favor, and do it just strictly in accordance with the law. We have a statute, we have the law that should guide our every action, the law and the evidence. Every step that we take is always interpreted by others as being political, or that we took it because of that. But one thing that I've always tried to instill in my office with my team is that we have to be totally independent of all this talk. We have to drown out the noise and focus on ensuring that justice is done, and that justice is done in a fair and in a transparent manner. So these are things that really I will take away. As I said, there are criticisms, there are personal attacks, there are all sorts of things, but I cannot be affected by criticisms, neither by praise. I have to do my work, and this is what I have tried to do. I do know that we always operate in situations where there is a lot of political charge, it's politically charged. But we cannot include politics in the considerations that we have. It is about justice and accountability.
It's about justice.
And this also is something that I have taken away with me. I'm taking away with me.
Madam Fatu Bensouda, the International Criminal Court prosecutor, thank you for your time and your continuing commitment to Darfur.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time, and thank you to the Sudan's National TV team and to the SBC director, Mr. Luqman Ahmed, for putting together this interview. Thank you. Thank you.
We can move.